Hey Radical fans, today's Radical Rundown is targeting on the lane. So I have a little side story to tell you. I had worked for United Airlines and I was on call. I lived in Chicago at the time and it was summertime and we had a big deck in the back of the brownstone we lived at, and it was a community deck. So I'm out there one afternoon with the phone in case it rang to go on call, and I'm reading a book on bowling. And this girl who lived across the way comes over, sits down and says, "Oh, what are you reading?" I said, "I'm reading a book on bowling." She goes, "My father invented the dots and arrows." And I'm sitting there thinking, it's got to be a pickup line. It's one of the best I've ever heard. And at any rate, she goes her way, I go mine. And that weekend we were having a little barbecue on the back deck at this brownstone. And she introduced me to her father, who happened to be there, and his name was Buddy Bomar. And Buddy Bomar is the guy credited with inventing the targeting system on the lanes of dots and arrows. That's pretty interesting. And, you know, I was pretty surprised to meet that guy. Anyway, let's talk about targeting. So you have three areas to target. You have the dots at the foul line. Actually, it's four. You have dots at the foul line. You have the first set of dots, which are a couple of feet away. Then you have the arrows. And now we have the tracers. So depending on where you're comfortable looking, you have several opportunities to use the different markings on the lane. I personally use two. The one I'm looking at and the one I hit. Because sometimes they're not always the same. But all kidding aside, I do use two. I target probably somewhere between the first set of dots and the arrows, and then a second target down the lane where I want my ball to go from the break point. It's sort of like when you have a gun, you shoot with a gun, you have two targeting on the gun, two targeting system on a gun. You have the first one that's close to your eye and then the bead down at the end of the barrel. It's the same way with throwing a bowling ball. You throw it through the first target and try to hit the second target, and that's where you want your ball to hook from. And how you determine where the second one is simply by what the oil pattern is and all. A lot of bowlers look down at the foul line. I was never one that could do that. I used to bowl, I tried several times, for a couple of years in a row. I looked at the first set of dots. Then I started to line the first set of dots up with the arrows, and now with the second, with the splices and the tracers down lane, I'm able to use the arrows and the tracers. So I use two. Some people aren't comfortable doing that, but the problem is if you use one set of targets, whether it's at the arrows, and you go through the 10 board going away from the pocket, or the 10 board going straight up, or the 10 board going across, you've hit your target, but your release point or your launch angle is totally different. So I try to throw it from one point to the other. And if I can get it on that line, I'm usually in pretty good shape. And that's today's Radical Rundown. Targeting is a personal preference. You have to trial and error it. Maybe you're better off looking shorter, looking longer. But that's today's Radical Rundown, and put your comments below, and we'll get back to you soon.